quite interesting walking through a parking lot these days. There's obviously a lot more SUVs than there used to be, but there's still sedans everywhere.
Well, Lindsay, you can imagine for manufacturers, I think the C-segment sedan market is like the bread and butter for them. But
Yeah.
gee, it's such a broad segment as well, because you've got the entry-level vehicles like your Hyundai Elantras, your Renault Fluences, your VW Jettas, Ceratos. The list goes on.
It does. It goes right up because you've also got Hyundai Sonata, you've got the Mazda 6, you've got the Honda Accord, right up to the BMWs, Audis and Mercs of the world.
But now you also have a new player, the Suzuki Kizashi.
And this is interesting because they're throwing their hat into the ring of sedans where they've always been known for creating 4x4s and compact hatch cars.
But the question remains, is the biggest Suzuki ever built going to stand out in a busy C-segment parking lot?
Kizashi.
What do I have to work with? You really like the Suzuki
Kizashi.
a lot.
I love the name.
It is really special the way you say it in particular. Styling is probably the place to start with this, but it's also the place where most of these C-segment sedans kind of fall flat.
It is indeed. I did not like it at all when I first, well, not like it, I was a bit ambivalent towards it when I first saw it because I thought it was quite bland, but I have to say it's a car that really grows on you, particularly the back end with the integrated bootlid spoiler and those fat exhaust pipes.
Which are inspired. I mean, this is obviously Suzuki. We know they've got a biking heritage. It's from their GSX-R sport bike range. So, I mean, they've brought those sort of elements through.
Well, I mean, they're false, but they...
Yeah, but
they do look awesome. It makes it look aggressive.
Question is, for me, I see like 1,001 cars morphed into this. I mean, it's got a bit of a European feel, but still has that Japanese...
And also a bit of American in the bum there. You can see quite a bit of Chrysler there.
I've seen Sebring, I've seen Ford Mondeo, VW, EOS.
But having said that, I also see Swift at the front with that short nose. It's important to keep the family face.
Well, that's what they said at launch, that it's got to be readily identified as a Suzuki, and you see it from the front. It really is pretty interesting. You and I have been fighting a bit off camera though about where this car fits in, and we're saying C segments. You think this is like a small C segment?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be going up against Sonata and 3 Series and C-Class.
To me, the size is just all wrong. To me, this is the size of Corolla. It's the smaller C segment, whereas you think it's Sonata, Honda, which is where Suzuki has said it's pitched.
You know what they have said is that it is shorter than its competitors, but it's a lot wider. And I think a lot of the time you get thrown off looking at the dimensions of a car, but I suppose for me, it's what it feels like once you're inside.
Yeah.
And the legroom and the space and everything is there in keeping with your 3 Series and C-Class. It's interesting territory for Suzuki to go into because this is the biggest car they've ever built globally. It's also the most powerful car ever brought to South Africa. Using the 2.4 litre engine that we know from the Vitara,
Grand Vitara,
they've obviously spiced it up a little bit more.
131 kilowatts and 230 Newton meters, and it's delivered nicely as well. It's a fantastic drive. I think that's what really sold me on this car. I looked at it, thought, nah, got into it, drove it, and just, it blew me away.
Everyone else seems to have a similar feeling, is that a lot of the time with these sort of sedans, you want to get that mix between, it's got to be slightly athletic and sporty, but you still want the comfort. I think they've hit the nail on the head. They were saying at launch as well, a lot of time and money spent on NVH. They want it to be quiet, soft, and they've really, it is a quiet car when you're inside.
Very.
Look, we're driving manual now. You've got the 2 options, 6-speed manual.
Yeah, but you drove the CVT on the launch, didn't you?
I drove CVT on the launch. So everyone hates CVT boxes because sure, you've got 101 different gear ratios that you can be in to optimize the drive, but they've put in clever technology here that it actually will pick, depending on your driving environment, what mode it should be in, whether it's start mode, sport mode, windy mode, to give you the best feeling. And as far as
pay the 20 extra £1,000 for the CVT or not?
No, well, I mean, I think yes, if you, the guy who's going to be sitting in traffic, the person who's buying a car to get from A to B, go the CVT box because the wine isn't going to bother you. As far as CVT boxes go, one of the better ones we've driven, to be totally honest. But I've really enjoyed driving the manual because you get the fun out of the motor. It goes. Let's talk interior. We haven't got into that.
I think probably because it's not a standout thing. Like, the interior is very nice, and I think what makes it nice is the simpleness. I don't think it screams premium, but it does scream practical.
Japanese cars have a unique feel inside. This reminds me of the inside of a Subaru, where everything is where it should be, it's in the right place, but they haven't gone the European way of making it super stylish. I mean, from a spec list, Everything that you could ever possibly want is inside this car.
It's extremely well spec'd, and the boot is massive. I mean, you could fit the roof of a Jeep Wrangler in there. In fact, we did.
Did you? It's interesting. It's a super competitive segment, as we know.
I'm still not convinced where it fits in though, Maurice, because if it's trying to compete with the Honda Accords and the Mazda 6s of the world, I don't think it's going to do it. But if it's competing with the Jettas and the Corollas of the world, it's an outstanding value package.
Priced under 300,000 with a 6-speed manual. I think the Suzuki
Kizashi.
is a winner.
Sounds like something you want to order off a menu. Like I'll have a Kizashi hand roll, please.
I'd be very worried about that because I wouldn't know what you're going to get. But I think for Suzuki, it's going to end on a happy ending.